Hello everyone and welcome back to day 10 of solving LeetCode problems on Tom Hire by FAANG company. Today we're going to be solving 2181 merge nodes in between zeros. So this is a medium type problem and you are given the head of a linked list which contains a series of integers separated by zeros. The beginning and end of the linked list will have node.val equals 0. Okay, that sounds fair enough. For every two consecutive zeros, merge all the nodes lying in between them into a single node whose value is the sum of all the merged nodes. The modified list should not contain any zeros. So return the head of the modified linked list. Seems actually pretty straightforward. So we have here example 1, 0. It says that we have 0 and 0 in the beginning and end, and then maybe a couple in between. Right, so we are indeed going to have 0, 3, 1, then another 0, then 4, 5, 2. So we should return one that is 3 plus 1 equals 4, and then 4 plus 5 plus 2, which is 11. Of course, we should not return this array. We should return the head, which would be 4, which would be pointing to 11, and this to null, obviously. This really seems pretty straightforward. Like basically, I believe we should just start iterating right through the linked list. The only thing we should be very careful about is considering the zeros, like whether we're going to consider a 0 or not. But I believe it would actually be pretty straightforward. Like for example, if we have here our linked list and it has, well, all of these nodes, right? We could just consider, like, to make this algorithm as efficient as possible, we should just consider that if it has a 0, we're going to initialize sum equals 0 and start summing all of the consecutive numbers, right? And yeah, so we're going to start here sum equals 0 since this is a 0. Now once we move to the right now we're going to check, okay, so this is 3, we're going to add 3. We would keep moving to the right, we're going to add, okay. So if this is 0, then we would make sum back equal to 0, but since sum is greater than 0, that means that this value should become a node, right? So we are going to have like my head, we would create this node indeed, like node.4, and we would just keep iterating now. Sum would be equal to 0 again. We would add 4 here, we would add 5, we could add 2, oh, those would be 9 plus 2, 11. Now that we have another 0, right, we are indeed going to just append this to head. My head.next would be equal to that new node, and that would basically be it. Like the only thing we need to consider, like the conditions, is if sum is greater than 0, then we're going to create new node, right? We should also have like my head. Well, depending if my head is null or not, we're going to initialize it with this new node that we create. And yeah, I believe that should be it. Like if we have two consecutive zeros, this would also work because sum would be 0, so we wouldn't really do anything. And yeah, I believe we can just start coding this up right now. So we're going to have a while loop. So while head, and here we're simply going to be iterating. Here head would be equal to head.next. Let me just have this ready. And yeah, well, here we're also going to have, of course, our variables. We're going to have sum. Node sum is going to be equal to 0. New head is going to be equal to none. And also, well, temp node is going to be equal to none at the moment. I believe we only need this. So here, if head.val is equal to 0, we're going to check. If node sum is greater than 0, right, then we're going to create this new node. Will be equal to list node sum new node that next equals none, just to be sure. And now that we have the new node, we would simply check. So if new head is none, or if not new head actually, so if not new head, then we're going to initialize new head is going to be equal to new node, and also temp node will be equal to new node. I'm just gonna call it here new head. I think I prefer this a little clearer. And here it will just be else. It will be temp node dot next is equal to new node, and temp node is equal to new node. Here, if val is not 0, right, we're simply going to keep adding node sum plus equal head dot val. Then this is just going to be head equals head dot next. In the end, we would simply return new head, and I believe this would be it. Let me just be sure that this would work, since in the previous coding problems that I've been doing, I've just realized that I tend to make these minor mistakes here and there, so I'm really going to check now. And here, yes, we are indeed missing something here real quick. So node sum, once we already initialize that value, we need to be sure that node sum is equal to 0, right? And yeah, I believe that really should be it. So let's go ahead and try to run this. Okay, so 2 test cases have been accepted, and well, what happens if we submit this? Okay, and there it is. So we have completed the day 10th of solving LeetCode problems. This algorithm beats around 56%. Really, the time complexity is basically O of n. And well, memory-wise, it's lacking a little bit, probably because we are creating new nodes. I can imagine a scenario where you don't really have to create new nodes, you just use the previous ones. But really, in the end, this algorithm is more than enough, and it's very efficient.